This evening, first, holding power to account. The Guyana Press Association condemns what it calls a state-supported attack on press freedom after a protest at the Square of the Revolution sparks controversy. Plus, dangerous distraction. The Guyana Fire Service issues a stern warning after multiple prank calls trigger false fire alarms at major institutions, including NIS headquarters. Also, new tools for transparency. The Ministry of Education launches an interactive map allowing the public to track every school construction project nationwide. Meanwhile, in Region 6, over 300 residents celebrate becoming new landowners. We'll tell you how the latest housing drive is changing lives in Berbice. Finally, back on Earth at last. 2 NASA astronauts finally returned after an unexpected 9-month mission in space. What went wrong with their ride home? These stories and more coming up next on Headline News Update. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for March 19th, 2025. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, the Guyana Press Association has condemned actions by what it called the state-supported social media page Live in Guyana following a Tuesday protest at the Square of the Revolution. The protest, which called for the release of social media influencer Melissa Atwell, also known as Melly Mel, after her detention by ICE in the United States, saw Guyana Press Association President Nazima Ragabir being criticized for allegedly participating in the protest rather than reporting on it. The Guyana Press Association accused the page of spreading false claims aimed at discrediting journalists and members of the Guyana Press Association executive. In a statement issued today, the Guyana Press Association decried such misinformation, which it believes undermines ethical journalism and distracts from credible outlets working to provide truth to the public. The Department of Information and Public Affairs responded to the Press Association's concerns by rejecting claims that press freedom were under threat in Guyana. The department emphasized the country has a free and open media environment, citing the government's support of press freedom and the liberalized social media landscape. However, they stressed the importance of combating misinformation, which could undermine democracy and public trust. The government also criticized the Press Association's selective stance on press freedom issues, pointing out that the association had been silent when journalists from state media faced threats. They further allege that the GPA leadership had blurred professional boundaries due to political affiliations, questioning whether Ragabir's presence at the protest reflected a partisan agenda rather than a neutral journalistic stance. Journalists are sometimes labeled as taking sides just by attending events, which leads to criticism and being called out by others. Despite the ongoing debate, the government reaffirms its commitment to supporting press freedom and ensuring that journalists, whether from private or state media, can work without fear of interference. The situation highlights what is seen as the divided nature of Guyana's press landscape, with media outlets seen as either pro-government or anti-government. Moving on, the Ministry of Education is boosting transparency in school construction projects with its new Projects Map platform. Ruth Pendleton has more on how this digital tool will work.
In an effort to increase transparency on school construction projects across Guyana, the Ministry of Education launched the Projects Map on Tuesday. While delivering the featured address, Education Minister Priyamanik Chan highlighted the extensive efforts in building and upgrading educational facilities such as schools and dormitories.
Because we have been building an enormous amount of schools, primary, nursery, secondary dorms, building, rebuilding, or extending significantly all across Guyana. And intermittently, you, your colleagues in the press, members of the public, parents, interested people, call us to find out whether something is being built, when it's supposed to be finished, who's the contractor. and things that you should know, things that have been made public but not been made public in one space.
She emphasized that the app is not an obligation, but rather for transparency purposes.
While we have gone to tender for all of these projects, and they were in the newspapers and on the World Wide Web, and you could access it, it hasn't been in the same place. We haven't done that for you. And while we don't have necessarily a duty to do it for you, we were very happy to be able to do this because it also helps us. So what we've done is, so let me be very clear, every single school in this country has had significant repairs, rehabilitation, and other works done.
Meanwhile, Head of Information Systems, Phil Mingo, demonstrated the functions of the website.
It's very interactive, so the map will allow you to zoom in and click on any particular point to find information on that particular point. So let's say, for example, I click on this one, and you notice come up the name of the institution.
Projects Map provides key project details, including the contractor's name, the contract award date, the project cost, when the tender was advertised, the closing date for the tender, the date the construction started, and the expected completion date. Reporting for the Headline News, I am Ruth Pendleton.
Thanks, Ruth. The Guyana Fire Service has issued a stern warning to the public to stop making prank calls to the emergency number 912, following multiple false alarms earlier today. Among the incidents was a report of a fire at the National Insurance Scheme headquarters at Camp and Ben Street, which temporarily halted operations. Workers were seen evacuating the building as firefighters responded and inspected the premises. However, no fire was found. Acting Fire Chief Gregory Wickham confirmed that the NIS call was one of 3 false alarms for the morning, with similar reports received about the New Building Society and the school in West Rhineville. There were no incidents of fire at any of the locations. The Acting Fire Chief has strongly warned the public to desist from making prank calls to the emergency hotline 912. In an official statement today, the Guyana Fire Service cautioned that these prank calls waste valuable resources and time and can make firefighters unavailable for legitimate emergencies where lives and property may be at risk. The department urges the public to act responsibly and has warned that this malicious practice can have serious consequences, diverting critical resources from those in real need. Stick around when we return. Minister Prasad calls for more social workers to meet growing challenges, and Guyana launches National Electronic Health Record System, paving the way for digital healthcare transformation.
Speak clearly with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Common smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services. 316 Mill Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Welcome back. More than 300 residents of Region 6 East Berbice Quarantine are now landowners following the government's latest housing drive at Molson Creek Phase 1 and 2 and hog-style housing schemes. The land distribution ceremony took place on Tuesday at the University of Guyana's Berbice campus, Tain. In addition to the house lots, 241 land titles and 20 steel and cement vouchers were distributed aimed at further supporting home construction. Minister of Housing and Water Colin Crowell, who led the initiative, highlighted the government's $15.3 billion investment in regional housing infrastructure, with projects underway in areas including number 75 and 76 villages, Palmyra, Fort Ordnance, and Williamsburg, Hampshire.
Our presence here today is a continuation of a commitment that we have given in terms of the housing sector.
Infrastructure works are set to begin at Molson Creek and Hogstall, with Molson Creek identified as a future development hub due to its proximity to the planned Ghana-Suriname Bridge.
Today, as a result of being able to acquire additional land through Guyana Lands and Survey Commission, we have one existing area for which we're expanding and one new area. So let's start on the further end, Molson Creek. For me, if you ask me if I don't know where Molson Creek is, we'll say, oh, that place is far out, it's out of the way. Because growing up, we knew we're going to Road End and we turn back. And so for us in Crabber Creek, to go to Molson Creek, it used to look like you're going to some other island. But Molson Creek itself will further expand not only because of housing, but because also of what government intention and program is, and that is for the alignment of the bridge that will connect us to Suriname, the fixed bridge that is. So therefore, we'll have a hub. And so when we are doing development, it's not done in isolation. There's a lot of planning that goes into place. Because, as I said, from government level, we have to look at the overall objective of what we're trying to achieve.
Several beneficiaries expressed relief and gratitude after long waits for land allocation. The government has already allocated over 43,000 house lots across Guyana, with Region 6 still facing around 6,000 pending applications. Minister Crowell assured that efforts are ongoing to secure more land and continue expanding homeownership opportunities. In other news, Ghana is taking a major step towards digital healthcare with the launch of its National Electronic Health Records System. Ruth Pendleton tells us how this move will transform patient care.
As Guyana moves toward a digital health pathway, the Ministry of Health launched the National Electronic Health Records EHR system on Tuesday. The EHR is a comprehensive collection of a patient's health history within the healthcare system. Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony shared that the system would save patients and health workers a lot of time.
One of the things that we want to do with this system is to make sure that every single citizen of our country would have a unique identifier. And with that unique identifier, when they come to the public health system, they can use that, they can access their health record. That can be done in a very short time because Right now, despite our best efforts with the manual record, we still have to search. And sometimes all the paper is not in one place, somebody misplaces it in some file, it becomes problematic. And somebody is sitting there waiting for hours sometimes. That's what we want to remove. We want to get to a point in the future where you would use your smart app on your phone and you will be able to make an appointment to come in and see your doctor.
Dr. Anthony explained that if someone breaches the system and is caught, serious measures will be imposed.
Now that you're putting people's data in this electronic format, people can easily breach these, well, not easily breach, but try to breach the system. And if there's a breach, we want to make sure that when we catch you, that there will be suitable punishment. And so if it's an individual that does that breach and you're caught, the starting fine is at 20 million Ghana dollars. And if it's a corporate entity, the starting fine is 100 million. So that's how serious we are about people's data and confidentiality, that we wanted to make sure that it's quite high.
Just a few days ago, the Health Ministry launched the National HIST Workforce Development Program as a collaboration between the Ministry of Health and United States US-based Mount Sinai, with funding from the $100 million Greater Guyana Initiative, GGI, to train a cohort of local digital health technicians. Phase 1 of the project will begin at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, GPHC, and its satellite clinics. Minister Anthony noted that the EHR system will extend to other health institutions across Guyana after its successful implementation. Reporting for the Headline News, I am Ruth Pendleton.
Thanks, Ruth. As Ghana joined the rest of the world in observing World Social Workers Day 2025 on Tuesday, Minister of Human Services and Social Security Dr. Vidya Prasad highlighted the growing demand for skilled and compassionate social workers to meet the country's social challenges. In her message to students of the University of Guyana's social work program, Minister Prasad underscores social workers' vital role in fostering social justice, equality, and human dignity. She lauded the work of the nation's social workers, reminding them that their work is recognized and appreciated.
Today, we recognize the incredible impact of social workers whose dedication and compassion transform lives every day. I stand before you with great pride and admiration for the work that social workers do across the globe. You are the unsung heroes who help rebuild broken families, support children in need, and guide individuals through times of crisis. Your hands help lift people out of despair. Your words provide hope, and your actions ignite change.
Minister Prasad encouraged students to consider joining the ministry's efforts upon graduation, noting that their contributions are essential to ensuring no citizen is left behind.
We need bright minds, dedicated hearts, and capable hands to continue the important work of social transformation. And I call upon you to step forward and be part of this movement. This is an open invitation for you to join the Ministry of Human Services team, which serves the entire country.
The Human Services Minister also announced plans to introduce a paraprofessional course in collaboration with UG's Social Work Department. This program will train aspiring social workers in hinterland, rural, and remote communities to address critical gaps in service delivery. This will make counseling, therapy, and domestic violence intervention programs accessible even in the most remote areas.
These programs cannot succeed without you. They cannot succeed without a team of passionate, skilled social workers who are deeply committed to the values of service and, importantly, justice. You are the future of this ministry. You have the ability to make a difference, to create sustainable change, and to be part of something bigger than yourself. It is not an easy path, but it is one that promises profound reward. When you choose social work, you choose to stand with those who need you most, and in return, you will find fulfillment like no other.
This year's World Social Workers Day was observed under the theme Strengthening Intergenerational Solidarity for Enduring Well-Being. Don't go away after the break. Germany unlocks historic military budget in landmark vote, and Colombia's President Gustavo Petro rallies thousands to push stall reforms.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Common smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Mill Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world. The Caribbean Court of Justice has upheld a $100,000 Barbadian award to a former housekeeper, Sonia Chase, injured at Barbados' Sandy Lane Hotel in 2010 when a marble slab fell on her. The CCJ confirmed lower court rulings that the hotel breached its duty to provide a safe workplace. The court also ruled that negligence was properly inferred under the principle of res ipsa loquitur, dismissing Sandy Lane's appeal. Meanwhile, in South America, a Colombian Senate committee has rejected labor reforms backed by President Gustavo Petro, which had formed key planks in his election campaign. They were aimed at improving worker conditions and protections, but business leaders balked at the cost they said would come with the changes. Al Jazeera's Alexandria Rampieti reports.
A make-or-break moment for Colombia's embattled President Gustavo Petro. Tens of thousands of supporters of the country's first leftist leader took to the streets of the capital Bogotá and other cities across the country. They waved flags and chanted slogans in support of the administration's signature labor and health reforms that have been bogged down in a hostile Congress.
The decisions Congress is making do not reflect the people's will. With these actions, we want to make clear that most people support the government's reforms and believe they should be approved.
With little more than a year left in office, Petro is trying to salvage his legacy after failing to bring about the change he promised in a country that remains among the most unequal in Latin America. His labor reform, which among other measures would have given workers extra pay for working overnight, Sundays and public holidays, was rejected on Tuesday in a Senate commission, blocking it from reaching a vote on the Senate's floor. As he joined the march, the president reiterated calls for a national referendum on the reforms, telling protesters that a corrupt oligarchy has betrayed the Colombian people for greed and money.
Porque cuando lo traicionan.
When betrayal happens, it's up to the people to decide, and that moment has arrived. That's why the proposal for a popular consultation is essential. We are bringing the 1991 Constitution to life. And of course, the oligarchs, the owners of the money, those who kill and murder, are shouting against it.
But organizing a referendum requires Senate approval and the participation of 1/3 of registered voters, almost 13 million people, which most analysts believe would be hard to achieve. Yet, some of Petro's closest allies say they will not give up.
Obviously, this is just the beginning. As Petro says, the campaign for the yes vote is starting. But from the photos and videos across Colombia, we've seen that millions of people took to the streets, showing that the president's consultation has strong public support.
In the end, these rallies show that President Petro, despite many setbacks, can still mobilize large crowds behind his vision. But the real test is if this support will be enough to push forward his reforms through a deeply divided political landscape. Alessandro Rampietti, Al Jazeera, Bogotá.
After 9 unexpected months in orbit, 2 NASA astronauts have splashed down off the coast of Florida. Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams had planned to spend 8 days on the International Space Station in June of 2024. Instead, the Boeing Starliner they were relying on to return them to Earth malfunctioned. Al Jazeera's Rob Reynolds reports.
The capsule descended from the Florida sky, bearing its passengers from outer space. Then, splashdown. And so, the long, strange space odyssey of Sunita Sonny Williams and Barry Butch Wilmore came to an end, finally. The journey began last June when the astronauts blasted off aboard a Boeing Starliner capsule en route to the International Space Station. They were supposed to stay on the ISS no more than 10 days, long enough to check out the Starliner's docking abilities. But a series of technical problems with the capsule's thrusters ensued, and NASA determined it would be too risky to fly them home on it. Because of complicated scheduling and the need to keep a minimum number of astronauts aboard the station at all times, they couldn't return right away. So they had to wait, and wait, and wait some more. As they circled endlessly around the Earth, the pair insisted they were not stuck in space, as the global news media kept saying, and were, in fact, having a lovely time up there.
It feels good to be in space and work up here with the International Space Station team. So, yeah, it's great to be up here, so I'm not complaining.
The months passed.
Happy Thanksgiving to all our friends and family.
Sonny and Butch celebrated the Thanksgiving holiday in late November.
In a personal sense, our family, our friends, those that are lifting up prayers for us and have been, we're grateful for that.
And Christmas in December.
It's a great time of year up here. We get to spend it with all of our family up on the International Space Station.
They stayed busy up there with scientific experiments. Williams also participated in a spacewalk in January. Finally, a new spacecraft blasted off for the station. Not Boeing this time, but one of Elon Musk's SpaceX Dragons. The astronauts said farewell to their space friends and, along with a Russian and an American crew member, boarded the Dragon for the ride home. As the capsule bobbed on the calm sea, a pod of dolphins frolicked around it. And after 287 days in space, Sonny and Butch are back on planet Earth. Rob Reynolds, Al Jazeera.
Finally, in a historic move, Germany's parliament has approved a massive military spending package worth hundreds of billions of dollars. The vote required a 2/3 majority to amend the country's constitution, specifically to ease the debt brake, a financial rule that has restricted government borrowing for 16 years. Al Jazeera's Steph Vesson reports.
It's seen as a decisive moment for Germany and for Europe. With this vote in Parliament, Europe's largest economy can spend billions of dollars on defense. Or as the man set to become the next chancellor said, Germany is back.
We have to rebuild our defense capabilities partly from scratch, using a technology-driven defense and procurement strategy, with automated systems, with autonomous European satellite surveillance, with armed drones, and with many modern defense systems. This is now the paradigm shift in defense policy that lies ahead of us.
A complete turnaround, not only for Germany, which after World War II was restricted from becoming a major military power once again, but also for Merz, who ahead of the election campaigned to maintain the so-called debt brake, which restricts the amount Germany can borrow and spend. But that was before US President Donald Trump made clear Europe can no longer rely on the US for its defense. After decades of austerity, arms producers gathered here at a trade fair in Koblenz are back in business.
Now we have money, but very little time is left. So it's crucial for all to come together, like here, where military and industry try to cut red tape and make sure that money is quickly and well spent to secure Europe's defence as soon as possible.
Critics in Parliament worry the government will burden next generations. Until the last moment, opposition parties tried to stop the vote taking place. To make sure the new debt of billions of dollars was approved, the vote was put to the old parliament and not to the newly elected one. That will only be installed next week. But all legal complaints saying that the process was undemocratic and too rushed were dismissed by the Constitutional Court. Because Germany is in a hurry. A parliamentary report shows the German military lacks investment on all fronts. Equipment, logistics and personnel, an emergency bringing parties and politicians together at an unusual speed for Germany.
I want this to be seen as a clear signal of our political culture, that perhaps in future years people will look back on this day and say, we took a different turn than many other countries. In the democratic middle ground, we are able to find the best solutions for our country.
Economists predict the defense package, together with a $540 billion special fund for infrastructure and climate policies, will give a badly needed boost to the ailing German economy. Step Vassen, Al Jazeera, Berlin.
This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3-day weather forecast. And that's Safe TV2 Headline News for this Wednesday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You can tune in tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. for a rebroadcast and at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other.